So, there's been persisting rumors of a fifth game in the Sly Cooper series for a while now. I'm a fan of the series, but I don't like giving attention to rumors like these. I'd much rather just wait until something concrete is provided and go from there. But I'll give these rumors one credit. They got me thinking about the franchise again for the first time in a long time. I haven't played the original trilogy since the release of the PS3 port, and only recently revisited Thieves in Time, mostly to see if it held up. The first two levels did, but this isn't about the mainline series. Like I said, I'd prefer to wait until something real shows up before even thinking about it. Rather, now that I'm thinking about the franchise again, I'd like to go back to an idea I've thought a lot about, and I'm sure many others have as well. Inspector Carmelita Montoya Fox, aka I'm Not a Furry, but is a mainstay character in the Sly Cooper franchise, introduced in the tutorial level of the first game, right alongside Sly, Bentley, and Murray, and constantly making many more appearances throughout the series. It's safe to say she's a main character through and through. She's got a fun, no-nonsense personality, a flirty rivalry with the main character, and an endearing and unique design. It's no surprise she's such a fan-favorite character. But for all that, she doesn't quite get as much love as our main cast from the developers. Murray and Bentley were made fully playable characters in Sly 2, with fully fleshed out movesets and abilities that made them fun and unique, and could be selected at any time for free play. On the other hand, Carmelita wasn't made a playable character until Sly 3, and even then it was only in a select few missions. She wasn't made freely selectable until Sly 4, and even that comes with the issues of waiting until halfway through the second level to get access to her, and the contentious reception of Sly 4 as a whole. She doesn't get the same level of attention as the rest of the Cooper gang. So, what if she got her own game? What if the entire experience was built around her character and her abilities? I have a few ideas of my own, and I want to share them. First things first, when does this game take place? You could retell the events of the series from Carmelita's perspective and give the player the chance to revisit beloved moments from the series. And I'm sure this idea is really attractive to some people, but I'm gonna have to go against it. I know her relationship to the Cooper gang is fun and endearing, but for the purposes of letting her personality shine through, I think it'd be best if they were out of the picture and we got a story that focused on her. This idea does limit our options. We could have a prequel set back when she was a rookie and before she met the Cooper gang. Or going the opposite way, we could set the game sometime after the mainline franchise. Assuming we don't want to retcon Thieves in Time, we could explore Carmelita's time after Sly went missing through the time machine. Bentley and Murray are working on ways to bring Sly back, and to distract herself, Carmelita dives into her work, dealing with other criminals over the world. And if the game is set post Thieves in Time, we could have an end credits stinger of Bentley discovering Sly lost in ancient Egypt and potentially setting up a Sly 5. Either way, the goal remains the same. This is a Carmelita game, not a Cooper game, and we get to focus on her as a result. Next, we have to figure out what she's doing. The Sly games are insanely fun due to the premise of being a thief and pulling off a major heist. Inspector Fox is a detective of Interpol. She's not pulling any heists in the near future, at least not in her own era. But we can still use a similar setup, just from a slightly different perspective. Rather than the Cooper gang way of planning a heist to steal from other criminals, Carmelita is instead planning a bust, going undercover, gathering evidence, interrogating suspects, planning when and where to strike, and so on. Much like with the Fiendish Five and the Claw Gang, she could be focusing her efforts on a new cabal of criminals established all over the world, giving the player a good list of antagonists to go against, as well as new and exotic locales to explore. Some new characters introduced could also be fellow members of Interpol, or possibly local law enforcement Carmelita meets in each new level, giving us some insight into her working relationship with her fellow officers. Additionally, this would be a good opportunity to bring back a few characters. If this game is a prequel, then we could see the return of Constable Neela and the Contessa before they revealed themselves as villains. Or if this were a sequel, villains who have either broken out of prison or supposedly reformed could be encountered over the course of the game. Though hopefully we're not too reliant on the familiar faces, I'd like this game to stand on its own instead of leaning on the rest of the franchise. So theoretically, Inspector Fox is traveling the world to take down a powerful criminal syndicate, and each level is a series of missions leading up to the big bust. But what does that actually look like from a gameplay perspective? Now, the first game is a very different beast from the rest of the series, and there are certainly people who like that formula, but it's clear that the new direction Sly 2 took was the more popular choice, and while this is a Carmelita game, we still want to attract fans of the Sly series with the gameplay they love and recognize. So, let's look at Band of Thieves for the groundwork. Sly 2 had a series of small, open-world levels where the player would complete a series of missions in various orders that would set up a big operation at the end of the level. These prep missions include taking reconnaissance photos to familiarize yourself with the locale and establish key areas, planting bugs in the villain's office to listen in on their conversations and gain valuable intel, sabotage their operations to draw them out of hiding, follow the villains to discover hidden areas of their operations, getting a disguise to go undercover, and many, many more. Fortunately, a lot of these mission archetypes lend themselves well to our new role of law enforcement. Gathering information for a heist becomes gathering evidence for a bust. Sly 3 even introduced a light conversation system that could be implemented as an interrogation system, where Carmelita uses the evidence she's gathered to get a confession or information out of captured criminals. Like a very cartoony LA noir.
You know, I've been thinking about your appearance.
Look, if you don't got nothing to say nice, then don't say nothing at all. Get it? What? Ain't got no sassy comments, smart guy? Oh, I get it. You got nothing nice to say, so you're keeping quiet. That's real cute. You really got nothing nice to say? That's cold.
While the overall structure and presentation can be handled in a similar way to the rest of the series, Carmelita herself is a drastically different playable character from our usual Cooper gang members, and would need to be fleshed out more if she were to be the main hero of her own game. The only real standout abilities she has are her shock pistol and mega jump, which just isn't enough to carry an entire game, so let's expand on this. Starting with the shock pistol, we could build on this and give Inspector Fox a small arsenal of cartoony weapons that she could use in a firefight for some light third-person shooter segments, like a very, very toned-down Ratchet and Clank. She could be given a sniper rifle loaded with tranquilizers, similar to Bentley's sleep darts, a shotgun that fires beanbag rounds, which, yes, is a real thing, smoke grenades that could obscure her presence and cause enemies to panic and attack the nearest person, aka each other, in the confusion, and possibly even have the ability to set up a taser shockwave mine as a trap. Again, a real thing, and for melee purposes, she could be given the standard issue police club.
It's called a baton, son.
Oh, what's it for?
We club people with it.
As far as her physical abilities go, Carmelita already has the mega jump, which is great for platforming, but I think we can expand on it. Sly Cooper has a lot of highly athletic parkour abilities that help him get around the level, and I think Carmelita could share a few of them. I'm not saying she gets everything in the Thievius Raccoonus, but things like sneaking along a ledge, crawling through a narrow passage, hiding under tables, or sliding down a rope, probably portrayed more as a zipline than the rail slide, seem perfectly reasonable for someone of her abilities. She could also be given a handful of gadgets for distraction and misdirection and traversal. Combining all of these new abilities together, there could even be levels similar to the chase scenes in Sly 1, Only this time, instead of playing as Sly trying to escape from Carmelita, you're the one chasing down a highly nimble and acrobatic criminal. And of course, something similar to ThiefNet could make a comeback, giving Carmelita a way to purchase new power-ups and upgrades for her current weapons and abilities. Things like a higher mega jump or increased power and accuracy for her firearms. All of these different gameplay sections would culminate together in a series of challenges centered around platforming, navigation, puzzle solving, and shooting, giving the player a wide variety of ways to experience Carmelita's style of gameplay through the eyes of her own story. I just find it pretty weird that Carmelita just doesn't get the same love as the rest of the mainstay cast in the series from the devs. I mentioned how there's ever-present rumors of Sly 5, and if those turn out to be real, I'd want Carmelita to get the same fully fleshed out gameplay as the rest of the Cooper gang. But if there is no Sly 5, then I really do think a spin-off starring Carmelita would be a great way to revitalize interest in the series and give Inspector Fox her due. Of course, a modern remake of the series is also an option. I just think something brand new after all this time could be way more impactful. But what do you guys think? Could Carmelita carry her own game? Do you guys like these ideas? Would you like to see a development team use these ideas or similar ones? Or would you rather see something completely different? I'm interested in what the fans of the series would have to say. But most importantly, who would you cast as Carmelita's new voice actor? Because she's just not allowed to have the same actor twice.